May 11th regular meeting of the North Lamar Board of Trustees to order, showing all board members present. At this time, please rise for the invocation led by Ms. Daughtry.
Let us pray. I thank you, O Lord, that we can gather here, that we're free in this country to come together to make decisions that we feel like are best for our nation, or best for our district, best for our individual lives. I thank you, God, for the strength that you give us during these very, very trying times. And I just pray that as a group here tonight, that you will help us be stewards of good faith as we make decisions to the best interest of our students, the staff in this district, and in our whole community. Help us to be strong, oh God, to protect each other, to love one another, and just ask for your help. Turn to you, dear God, in times of need, as we have right now. And it's in your precious name I do pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On our Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Okay, we'll move to item number 3, public testimony. No one signed up during the sign-up period for public testimony, so we'll move to item 4, public forum. And it's 6:02 right now. We're going to give it a couple minutes and see if anyone that's online would like to send a message that they would like to have a comment. Okay, it's 6:04 p.m. No one has messaged that they would like to comment, so we'll move to item number 5, consent agenda. If everyone's had an opportunity to look over the consent agenda and doesn't want to pull an item, we'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Solid.
Okay, motion's made by Red and seconded by Sheila. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we'll move to item 6, action discussion item 6A, discussion only, attendance and enrollment. Mr. Watson.
Okay, you should have the enrollment in your board packet. If you look at our enrollment numbers as of May 6th, we had Higgins, we had 336 students, Everett 242 students, Parker 243, Bailey 310, Stone 557, and the high school was 726, which gives us a total body count of 2,414. If we look at our ADA enrollment, you can look what it was on the 15th of April and how it changed through May 6th. And you can see overall we dropped 3 students. We had some students check out, we had a few check in. Overall, we dropped 3 students. So our ADA was at 2379.5. On the back side, you remember we always look at our ADA enrollment as compared to our budget. Right as of May 6th, our average daily attendance was 2,303.24, so that's which is about 96.44%. Again, Melissa budgeted for 2245, so that gives us about 5824 students still good to help us with our budget. The last thing that we've heard from the state, the 2303 may not be our final number. They're looking at possibly taking the average of our historic attendance and doing something with it. They don't really know. So as soon as it's hard for Melissa to kind of close out this year because we actually do not know our ADA. Where before we could just look at that report and we know what it was. So there may be some adjustment to that. At this time, we don't know. But hopefully it won't affect us in the next report. Any questions on the attendance? Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item 6B, discussion only, budget workshop. Melissa?
It's hard to believe that it's been 1 year, so I'm celebrating my 1 year anniversary this month. So it's been an interesting year, to say the least. But just as if you look at your packets here and start on the revenue, it's just as Mr. Watson just alluded to, we don't know what our ADA is, so it is a little difficult. I am going to personally say that it's going to come in close to what Mr. Watson said. I'm going to say that TEA is going to average around 2301.513, which the COVID, in this case, I do believe did us fairly good because I really think our ADA would have been lower than that had we just continued. Because I remember when we went out for spring break, it was like 2284. And, if that was the case, we had lost from last year, our ADA was 2330. So we had lost quite a few students. But I'm going to say if we can stick with the 2301.513, then we would have only lost 28 students from the 2330 that we had at the end of last year. But in reality, I'm thinking it is more like 46. And when you're doing and you're looking at that basic allotment, which is $6,160, that's just your basic. If the student, it's just the regular allotment. That is $283,360 right there, just because of the loss of students. So that's, I came in this year, thinking that if we could break even with this budget, it would be a successful year. And Ms. Stewart and I, and Mr. Watson, and Dr. Cogwood, Angela, Ms. Chadwick, have done everything in our power, to keep the budget down as much as possible. So, but first of all, I'm going to start with our tax revenue, where I think we're going to come in at. Tax collections, we're currently at this $12,350,354. And I'm looking at a little bit more in May and a little bit more in June. Now, what this number is just the number, the amount that we're getting on our current and our prior year tax levy. It is not the tax penalties and interest and the other part of the tax that we get. That is in the other local revenue. So I do expect the tax collections to be just a tad bit more with our May and June, but it really starts weaning off, I'm going to say like in February and March. So a little bit more there. Our per capita and our foundation, or what we get from TEA, as I was talking about, it is our basic allotment plus any of our special allotments. And I'm going to say our per capita that we've earned is $603,977, and our foundation is $7,220,441. Now, I'm fearful for the cafe this year because, like I said, we've lost a lot of revenue there, going through the line since the middle of March, through the end of May. So I have a feeling they're going to go into their fund balance. Now, lucky for us, they do have a fairly healthy fund balance, and the general operating fund will not have to come in and subsidize it, luckily for us. But I do think that they're going to take a pretty big hit to their fund balance this year. And then, as I was talking about earlier, the other local revenue, which is gate receipts, $243,844 of this money was the SHARS reimbursement that we recouped from the Special Education Co-op. So that is going to be larger, of course, this year than next year, because I'm not foreseeing that we're going to have that much sitting on the table of SHARS. It's also interest income. Our CDs were really making some good interest. They were like at 1.74, 1.75. They are renewing at 0.30. I mean, so I'm not looking for, interest income to be any place where near this, next year. So I'm going to say that we're going to come out with revenue of about $21,650,226. That's why I'm going to say we're going to end the year. Now, if you'll flip over to, we'll talk about expenditures now for this year. I'm going to say that our payroll is going to come in at $17,486,068. That is the 10 months of actual that we've already paid, plus estimates of what I think May and June will be before we can close. This number may be larger because if you'll remember at the workshop last year, I talked about sometimes about school finance that you had to leave the common sense at the door, come in. Well, we still have a lot of state comp ed money to spend, which is our at-risk students. So I think Angela is working on a pretty aggressive summer school somehow or other. She may be better to talk about what she has in plan for that. So our payroll may be larger than this because we have got to spend quite a bit of money for summer school to get that allotment spent. So, but hopefully it will be near this. Our contracted services, which if you'll remember from our last year's workshop, that's our Region 8 contract. It is our auditor, it's our lawyer, it's our loan service, it's our officials at ball games, it's our operating leases, it's our appraisal district, the appraising and the collecting fees. So all of that, I'm figuring that we're going to come in at $1,403,950. For our supplies and materials, which is instructional supplies, maintenance, janitorial, software, postage, paper, all that falls into supplies, I'm saying that we're going to come in at about $1,349,459. For our miscellaneous operating, which we'll remember last year, which I said the SPED co-op is in this, that is going to be this year it is going to be $1,156,907. So I will make that journal entry before we close to move that money in. So that's basically what all this miscellaneous operating is. It's also student and employee travel, athletic entry fees, property insurance. Now, if you'll remember our hoo-ha-ha that we had with our property insurance, so I'm looking that because of that, we had to pay double premiums. We had the Higgins flood that did not get paid. I'm going to say that we lost in that $207,970.05, which Ms. Stewart has been on the phone with lawyers. She's been persistent to try to get the money back, and I do think that they're going to try to work a 3-year deal with us to get this paid for over a 3-year period of time.
So that's the money we paid.
The extra because of that, yes. So if you'll look, our revenue coming in at $21,650,226. Our expenditures coming in at $22,245,028. So with that said, I think we're going to take a hit on our fund balance about $594,802. That's the way I'm looking. But like I said, 207 of that was insurance. If you'll also flip over to the very last page where I'm showing you this here that I get from PEA off the PEA website. This is our fund. This was what our funding looks like for the year. So everybody found that one on the very last page. If you'll see right there on September 4th, we were sitting at $7,659,570. Well, if you'll see that 1,219,535, that was our overpayment from last year. So it was wiped off at the very beginning. Okay, that's how they do that. So, we were floating along. We were getting our payments. We got a September payment. We got an October payment. We were looking, really good there in about February. Okay, well, if you look from February to March, we lost $562,727. Now, the only thing I can think of there is the tax collections. I mean, somewhere they were doing something with tax collections. If you look where I start, at $7,222,903, I really think that is what we've earned. So luckily, we are not going to be in an overpayment status this year. We're going to be in a little underpayment, which is a very good place for us to be. I mean, at least we're not being paid $1 million over. Any questions on that? But that's just, that's how it, so, how you do a budget on this, one day you have it, next minute you don't. So this is what we're looking at. All right, well, let's go back over to our revenue and let's look at our 2021 revenue. Okay. As I was talking about with ADA, I don't know what it is. And I'm going to say it's going to be around 2301, but in reality, I believe it was about 2284. So I took 2% off of the 2284 that I really think we were at before spring break. And I'm going to say we're going to come in at a revenue, but this is my budget, will be 2239.105. And that is 2% off of the 88 before we went on spring break. If you look at tax collections, these were the preliminary values that I got. Although I did talk to Mr. Patton and told him these looked horrible, and he said that he agreed with me. He said he thought the final collections would be, the values would be quite a bit higher than this. He said COVID has got them behind. They're still out reappraising property in the district. Some of it hasn't even been appraised and it's not on the preliminary because they're behind due to COVID. So I really do, but he really thinks that we'll be at our collections this year or maybe exceed them just a little. So, but I have to go with what I know right now, and that's the preliminary values. So I'm going to say based on that, our revenue will be $12,076,674. Now, if you'll look at our per capita and our foundation for next year based on this ADA, which I still may tweak some, as I hear more, I'm going to say our per capita is coming in at $926.05, which is up from last year. $316,628. But I'm going to say our foundation money is going to be $6,550,424, which is down $670,017. So basically, I'm looking at our funding cut next year in just TEA's money, $353,389. I'm looking at the cafeteria to rebound again next year. Hopefully, we'll open up, we will have a normal year, and the cafeteria will be okay next year. And then I'm looking at our other local revenue, and like I said, it's down from this year because of CHARS and interest, and I'm looking at about $357,900. So that will give us a total of $21,011,291. So it's bad because it's less than what we're living on this year, but I do think it's going to be close. But then if you flip over to our expenditures, now keep in mind on these expenditures that they are the first ones I put in after myself, Ms. Stewart, and Mr. Watson sat down with every director and every principal on the campuses. And I discussed their normal budget, and Ms. Stewart and Mr. Watson discussed their personnel needs. So this is their want list right here. Okay, so this is in here. Now I can tweak, probably come down on contracted services, the supplies, miscellaneous operating some. Then of course, everybody will start screaming, as we heard last year, we will have the same, how that is. So we will hear screaming, but I can back off on these numbers. But that payroll number, it is an estimate right now. Actually, Janelle and I were we were reviewing the next year payroll numbers. Mr. Watson heard us, and he said, if I were y'all, rather than waste your time right now, he said, we're getting ready to talk with TASB about that survey, the salary survey study. We're supposed to have that next Thursday at 9:30. So we just stopped what we were doing because we thought, why are we doing this? We may need to do some changes. But as you can see, I don't think there's going to be a lot of wiggle room to do anything in this payroll number except bring it down. But I do believe it's going to come in around $17,890,650 unless we can figure out how to do some cutting.
What's your plans to do cutting?
I know that Mr. Watson and Ms. Stewart are looking at some positions, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Like I said, so we're working towards that.
Just looking in our packet, we've got recommendations. I'm all for growth for our district. That's where we get our ADA at and build our enrollment up. But some of those are new positions. That's
hard to spend more money if we're looking at something.
Right,
I don't want anybody to lose a job.
right, I understand.
That's why I
Well, it will be
asked the question.
attrition, I mean, the way
It's
we
through
do it.
attrition.
Yeah, it will be attrition, no one will, hopefully, I mean, no one will lose their jobs, you know. And so anyway, I do believe our contracted services will come in at $1,672,659. Our supplies and materials will come in at $1,711,138. Our miscellaneous operating will be $1,784,083. Our debt is $135,212. I forgot that, I didn't even mention that before, of the expenditures. I didn't, I skipped on the expenditure for debt for this past year is $135,432, and the capital outlay is $160,460. I'm back in the 20 column, sorry about that. The $160,460 was our Suburban, our 2 cars. It was carpet at Higgins, it was an AC unit at Parker, and 2 floor scrubbers. Okay, that's what that entailed. And then flipping back over to 21, our debt is, of course, our energy grant that we're paying back at $400,000, plus some of copier leases that we're leasing. And our capital outlay, the only one thing that's, well, I want to take that back. Mr. Brown in our career tech wanted some new trucks. This is not in the budget, you know. But Rick wanted 2 floor scrubbers. That's what this 14.2 is. Our floor scrubbers right now. And then, of course, we're just really holding out for the bond, you know, to see, I guess, some capital outlay, you know, how it's going to come out. So if you look at our expenditures, 23,207,942 compared to our revenue of 21,011,291, there's a little difference there, big gap. It's a big gap. So that is where we are with where I think we're going to be coming in at. I mean, so, and like I said, I can cut some of the, you know, some of it, but there's not a lot of wiggle room. So my predictions, again, you know, for the current fiscal year, I was explaining about our ADA, and I think that the end of year losses will be $594,802. And as I was saying on that last sheet there, I was going to say TEA cut our funding in February to $562,727, but we will not be being overpaid. And then again, the major losses for the year were our insurance. And then
If you don't mind, Ms. Darrell, I want
Yes.
to address that real quick.
Okay,
On that
okay.
insurance that she's talking about, I spoke with Sean Barnett today. He's over TREA, and he informed me that he is meeting with Blake Powell, who is the lawyer for TREA, and that they are going to be sending us legal documentation next month, and that it'll be a 3-year payment plan, but he feels like they will be able to pay us back in full in 2 years. So that's for the claim and the premium together.
And then we are supposed to get back with him. There was a claim from the prior year that he is going to look and see if he even has anything on. If not, I'll get with Mr. Landis and we will get that information to him. Okay, again, our predictions for next year, you know, I'm thinking that we're going to be, our ADA is going to come in low. And as I can always add money in the budget, but I can't take it out. So I'd rather come in low, you know, and then if we, you know, if I see we're doing a lot better than that, we can amend the budget and bring more money in. So I think our funding is going to be down from the prior year about $638,935. And like I said, with payroll, though, maybe we can absorb the positions by attrition. So with our fund balance, I just kind of did a little chart for you where I think, you know, if we do come in at the loss of $594, our fund balance will go from the $8,491,249 down to $7,896,447. I think that covers everything unless anybody has any questions.
Is this coronavirus, has it cost us money?
Okay, I am currently in the process. I have Fema rights now to go in and put claim in for us. So I'm going to start working on all the POs that have COVID. Everybody's been instructed that if it is a COVID-related purchase order to put COVID on it, I'm going to go back. I'm going to research all that, do a spreadsheet. What they're going to need is why we made the purchase, the copy of the purchase order and proof that we paid the check. You know, proof of payment, I'm going to get all that together and upload it into Fema. And we are supposed to get 75% of that back.
Okay, so it'll show us what it will cost us money if we save money.
Yes, and so I figure what I will do with the copiers, I will look and kind of get an average of what they were running before, and then, you know, get a count of it now and see what the difference is, and try to say that that's how much we're out, reduce the packets that they're coming in. I'll do the same thing with the postage meter. I'll kind of see where each campus was, how much more we've had to send out due to that, and try to come up with something that we can at least get some of that money back.
What's the percentage of our payroll?
I know for the general operating, and like I said, just to remind y'all, this is just the general operating in the cafeteria, which is our athletics, which is Fund 183 here at North Lamar. It's our Fund 199 general op, and it's our cafeteria 240. And I'm going to say for those, our payroll percentage is like 80%.
What's
Average for most other districts around?
Mr. Watson, would you say the average for most school districts would be, and for payroll, what would their average be?
Usually between 65 and 70. There are some between 70 and 75, but the majority are between 65 and 70. Ours at the current, they absorbed 18 jobs last year, and so it got us down. We were at 80%, we're down to about 76% right now.
As a whole, but this is just the general op, yes, but as a whole, it's about 76 when you add all the federal funds.
So, I mean, we've gone done some last year, and as she mentioned earlier, we're looking at sorting some jobs, some more jobs. We're hoping to get down to, low 70s, 70, 72 this round, hopefully.
So it's safe to say that we're at least 5% high.
Yes, and some of that, when you look at payroll, there's some other factors that can factor in, and that factor is like if you have a lot of older teachers, you're paying topped out teachers, and that's something we told the principals, as you're hiring back, if you have two teachers that you're kind of deciding which one you really want to go with, they're about even, to choose the one that has less experience, and the reason we do that is because they cost us less money, and a budget as tight as ours, and we're trying to, so like if you have 5 positions and there's $20,000 in a topped-out teacher compared to a 5-year teacher, that's $100,000 right there that you just saved on your payroll just on 5 teachers. And so we're looking at all different rims, not only absorbing jobs, but getting some of the salaries. The teachers that cost less salary-wise. So that's about where we're on that.
So refresh my memory on the study that's coming back. Is it TASB that you said that's doing the study? Is it the same one that we had done before?
I want to say it's very similar
It's
to the one we had.
Jeff, the survey they did before was staffing. They were talking about the number of employees you have. This particular study is salaries. And so it's looking how your salaries measure up. So if we have some that are making more than they should, then you can freeze those salaries until the average gets up to them. And so it's kind of looking at the number side, the money side of it, versus last time it was the number of employees you have.
Can I just say something? Just in that you're talking about quality teachers as compared to quantity. And I hope we don't lose sight of our purpose. We want the best quality teachers we have. They might be the 5-year teacher.
Right.
But I'm just saying, we don't ever want to lose a quality teacher for quantity.
And that's exactly what we told Sheila. We said if you have 2 teachers of equal talent, that's when you need to lean to. But if you got a topped out teacher that's by far your best choice, that's who we're going to go with. So the quality is number 1, but in the same sense, when you're looking at financial, and you have 2 candidates that are equal, and one's going to cost you less money, at this point, that's what we need to look at. But we definitely want quality as our number 1 priority.
Does Does anyone else have any other questions?
Any other questions?
I am in full disclosure and, saying it in front of all of you guys, when I talked with Ms. Stewart this week and found all this out, my comment was that I'm not voting for money to come out of fund balance again after this year. I mean, situation happens with taxes, and the state penalizes for that, I understand, but we're going to have to get to a balanced budget situation for me to be in support of it. And I mean, I've told her that, and I'm telling all of y'all that. That's where I stand on it, that we can't keep taking money out of fund balance. But I feel like these numbers that she's presenting, their first wish list. This is what they go through every year. They start working on it and try to get it down, but that's a lot to get down without it being very painful. But at the end of the day, it's just like business. Your revenue's this, your expenses are this, and they've got to at least be equal, or you're going to end up being in trouble. So,
let me ask you, what do we do with all the money that we've saved since school?
We have saved some, yes, but like I said, now we need to really have an aggressive summer school, and basically we are really looking at the purchase orders now that are coming through, and it's on a need basis. I mean, do you really need this? I mean, so.
And really, it's
but we have saved.
minimal.
It has been a saving, but all the athletic travel that we would have had to have been out, all the buses for the field trips and all that, so it's definitely saved a lot of money.
What about our fuel costs?
It's definitely saved a lot of money, and for the buses, for the field trips, athletic, all the places that they would have gone, postseason. So definitely that. But I know I've got the band trip next year, so I know it's going to, hit hard.
And
It's a state.
They go to state next year.
the first time I heard about the appraised values not meeting the test and the state funding being less and all, we were looking at $1 million, and it's 600 now. So there's your savings. But when you're talking about 80+% of your expenses are payroll, that hasn't been changed. We're still paying those employees.
Well, it looks like our payroll went up.
Well, every year there's a step raise.
Everybody gets a step increase,
So-
yes. Well, not everybody. I mean, if you're topped out, you won't get one, but most of them get, a pay increase.
But did we lose employees? Had we cut back on employees?
Well, we did last year, yes, and we're looking at cutting back, some more.
We'll have to. 80% of $2.2 million basically is going to have to come from payroll. So. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I guess I'm finished my presentation. Also, let me just, before I sit down, let me just address C. This is what I did last year, and I'm just asking for it again this year. That way, when I go to start making adjusting entries, and I see that maybe a function is close to being over or is over, I can just kind of move money without having to call y'all, for a special board meeting, to approve a budget amendment. So that just gives me money to be able to start cleaning up for the year.
That's item 6C, so we'll need a motion to give her permission for
Thank you.
those amendments. Made by Joel, second by Bo. Is there any discussion on that item? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. We'll move to item 6D, discussion only, 3-year-old class edition at Parker.
While we're talking about cutting staff, we definitely want to see if we can also raise our ADA. So we thought if we could go out and capture our 3-year-old plus serve that community where our at-risk population, which is what the pre-K classes do. So what we did is we went to determine if we could add a 3-year-old class. We do have room at Parker to add 1 class, and so we thought we would put out the application process to see what came back. We know that if we have enough students sign up, it's going to more than pay for the teacher. We also would have to have an aide if we went over the 11-to-1 ratio there for a 3-year-old. Can't imagine 2 3-year-olds in here, much less 11, but these professionals do it. They do an outstanding job. So the people who apply must meet the same qualifications as the pre-K 4-year-old class, and there is a different curriculum that they would use, and Ms. Hughes out there at Parker is very talented, and she's looked up all the criteria, and we've examined it, and we felt like we have the capacity to offer this 3-year-old class to that community at this time. We have a desire to serve those students and those families with the greatest need. Do you have any questions about what that 3-year-old class, or, I mean, it's the same design as the 4-year-old. It's the pre-K at risk, but it's only for 3-year-olds.
Are there other districts doing this?
The Head Start program that we used to have, it housed 3-year-olds.
That was.
And so when we stepped out of that program,
Yeah.
we always really intended to go back and offer 3-year-old, but we needed to wait a year to kind of get our 4-year-old in tune with what we needed to do as a district. So when we stepped out of Head Start, we let go of 3-year-old. This is our way of getting it back and offering the community what we previously offered. So yes, Paris and the Lamar County Head Start does offer 3-year-old.
So we would be independent with our own 3-year-old class. We would not be tied to somebody.
The Head Start criteria.
Like we used to,
So that makes it a full day instead of a partial day, which there were some problems with that. So
How
we feel
many
like it
kids
supports
would
it.
we have the capacity to serve?
A full class.
22?
So we could serve 22 with a teacher and an aide.
Okay.
So you're saying we'd get that money, 6,000 per student?
The ADA is half-day ADA for that grade level or that age level, but it's also state comp funded teacher and aide. So the state comp, the at-risk money that Melissa was just talking about, us spending on summer school, which we have plenty enough to also fund this position. Plus we'll receive half-day ADA.
Can you explain to the board the state comp money and what kids are eligible for us to be funded for that and what aren't, and which ones aren't, and that type of thing, please?
For state comp spending, there's 14 criteria, and I will do my best, plus at low socio-eco. So you've got students who fail a core curriculum class, any student who fails a STAR test, a state mandated test, any student who's failed the year, any student that's been sent to alternative school, DAP, any student defined as homeless, foster, any student who's pregnant or has had a child, boys or girls. Oh my gosh, there's a list.
But in relation to a 3-year-old?
But for the 3-year-old class, that's the class where I think even if your parents in military service, if you're a foster child, if you meet the qualifications for the free or reduced lunch,
Okay. And
if you're Spanish speaking or non-English speaking, you come from a non-English speaking family. So those are the criteria along with.
And I've already asked this question when I reviewed the agenda, but I'm going to ask it again so the rest of the board can hear the answer. Why just at Parker?
At Parker is the only place we have a spare classroom to offer that at that age level, so Higgins does not have an open classroom, or we would offer at Higgins as well.
So basically we would have to put kids in portables if we were to do it up here.
And I did check to see if you could offer it in a district and only offer it on one campus within that campus lines, and that is permissible.
But potentially someone from in town or Reno or whatever could take their kid out there if they wanted to drive out. I've been real supportive of this program personally, and the reason why is because I believe the larger Head Start or pre-K program you have, the higher your kindergarten enrollment is, and I feel like rebuilding our ADA needs to start at kindergarten. If we address our facility needs in the future and have the space, it would be nice to see the program vastly expanded. Other districts, for example, allow employees' kids to be in it for a fee. Some of them don't charge employees' kids, but and when it comes to school finance, these guys think different than a businessman does. A lot of times a businessman has to go and spend capital in order to count on revenue coming in later. Well, in school business, we don't think that way at all. But I've always thought that way when it comes to this program. I wish it was available to everyone for as cheap as we could make it available, because I think your kindergarten classes are going to shoot up and then your ADA is going to shoot up, so the revenue comes later. But we can't do that with our current facilities, which is why we have to pass a bond. Because, you know, the last thing we need to do is put 3-year-olds in portable buildings that haven't been used now in, 2 years. So maybe when we get our facilities addressed, this program can expand, because I really feel like the kindergarten class size will come up behind it.
Absolutely. I would like to establish the best pre-K program in the area. I think we can do that. And we'll grow, we'll get there. But this is the first step to that process, so it's very exciting to be able to offer this.
Do you want to have any questions?
What is the transportation for like the 3-year-olds? Do we offer that, or is it strictly rental, drop off and pick up? Or?
The transportation is something that Ms. Hughes will be working with Mr. Hildreth, but I do believe they have to be in car seats.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same standards. They can't just jump on a bus.
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
And I'm sure some of them will be parent drop off, but we'll take care of anybody that's not, if they qualify.
Okay. Anyone else? We'll move to item 6E, discussion only, professional learning community training.
Okay, so I'd like to start this off with saying everything that I'm going to talk about under Section E for professional learning community training is funded with Title II funds. And those funds are federal, and they are specifically set aside for this type of training. So about, I don't know, it's about a year and a half ago. Kelly, when did you first start this job? Because it was the first meeting that we had with principals right after you just became interim superintendent.
Right.
And I asked the principals.
Started in March.
So I asked the principals, what do you want for your professional development that you see as a district need? And they said that they wanted teach resource system training this first round, this first year. And it's something we're doing, it's our curriculum. So we spent the whole year doing that. So I asked them for a 2-year plan. Second year is professional learning communities training. And that is what I've been working on, establishing a plan for to start next year. So initially the plan was to have this training May 26th and May 27th. Well, since we're not in school, we were able to bump that into contract time, and we are including 20 teachers. So this training is something that really develops the campuses and their capacity in their meetings. But I always feel like the more we have teachers involved in training, and not just train administrators to initiate a program, but bring teachers in, because teacher point of view is going to make or break. And I want the teacher point of view to be understanding of the whys behind what we're doing. If a teacher doesn't understand, how can they really realize the importance of a training? So I have provided for you a little bit of information, not going to go over the whole thing, but that's for you to look at later if you're interested. The handout that you have starts with Solution Tree is the company that we have hired to do this training, and so we have one person who's going to do our training by Zoom. And he has done several. I've had a pretty lengthy conversation with him. The first page of what I've given you is a sample, and he gave us about 4 samples. I just grabbed one of them of what we will develop through this 2-day training. And it's kind of a 3-day training because we're going to do it Tuesday and Thursday, and we'll have a little bit of readings to do on Wednesday. But as a district, the teachers and the administrators will come up with something similar to this that's representative of North Lamar. We're not going to take and copy somebody else's, but we have about 4 different samples. So the key things to professional learning communities are at the bottom, the 4 critical questions of a PLC. And so I just want to emphasize that you're going to see that multiple times. What is it we want our learners to know? And these are things that the teachers will ask of themselves and each other. How will we know when they have learned it? How will we respond if they don't learn it? And how will we respond if they already know it or need to learn it? So that's the type of questions that they're going to be asking in these trainings. And they're going to come up with their ways that they're going to come about that. The next page is a sample agenda. Again, all of these are samples to go by to develop our own, which is what we want to do with the teachers. But if you'll look on this agenda, questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, same questions that were here. What do you want all students to know and be able to do? How will we know if each student has learned it? What will we do if they don't learn it? And what will we do if they have learned it? So just a couple of things. Here's a sample of what a traditional teacher team and a professional learning team is. And then here's just a way that they will analyze data, a sample of a protocol sheet. So there's a lot of information for the teachers to learn, so we have a professional to train them. This is an excellent short document that describes the entire process. I encourage you to read it at your leisure, and certainly if you have any questions or want to discuss this with me, I would be more than happy to sit and have a conversation with anybody who wants to discuss this. It's great training. I've talked to many people who have gone through it. I've researched it quite a bit. But the other thing is, I have an extra one of these if you want. Every single person, we've got 40 people going through this training. 20 administrators, 20 teachers. And if any of you would like this copy, this is an extra. It's fabulous reading, I think. Now, most people don't share my point of view.
I'll take it.
You're going to take my word for it? Because this is mine, as you can see, I have marked it up greatly, and there's lots of little leaflets. But I do have an extra. And there would nothing please me more than you guys having a deeper understanding and insight to this. And if you have any questions, I would love to stop and just visit with you. But I just wanted to share this one page because you know how I am. Not the whole page. I'm just going to share you the same 4 questions right here that I've gone over on these other things. What knowledge, skills, and dispositions should every student acquire as a result of this unit, this course, or this grade level? First question. Second, how will we know when each student has acquired the essential knowledge and skill? How will we respond when some students do not learn? And how will we extend the learning for students who are already proficient? Those are the 4 guiding questions of professional learning communities. And that's what this is truly all about. It's shifting the focus from how we're teaching to how students are learning. And so I've yet to read anything bad here. Any questions about professional learning communities? I'm just super excited that we were able to, there's some pluses to COVID. We get to have this training and 20 teachers get to participate with us, and their voice will be an equal voice at the table as we go through this training. No questions?
Those 20 teachers are district-wide?
Yes. So as they group, they will be grouped with their principal. So what we're going to do with the training on how those Zooms work is, we'll do full 40, and then he'll do some breakout sessions where the teachers and the principal get to work together in a separate. So this is all about those teachers visiting with their principals to share what this would look like on their campus. And it may look a little different on each campus. They're going to have some guiding principles and see how that works out for them.
Any questions? If not, we'll move on to 6F, discussion only, instructional continuity grant for Everett.
Okay, TEA has pushed out this instructional continuity grant, and it's $10,500 for targeted Title I campuses. So what that does is that supports needs for Everett, and by instructional continuity, they titled it in the same format with all the other COVID-19 as they were, it's money that's pushed out to these campuses to help support them for any type of, I guess, recourse for students being out, or if we may have to go back, what are we going to do to make sure we're supporting the campuses that need it the most. So Everett qualified for this grant, and in meetings that we've had, we decided to meet with Region 8 to establish a year-long training in blended learning for that campus in ELAR and in math. So that would support the specialists, the math elementary specialists and the ELAR elementary specialists and their technology specialists working together to support the learning of blended learning for the teachers at Everett. Got together with Ms. Sanders, and this was what she wanted, along with any technology that might be required in addition to the technology that she already has. So at this point in time, we're waiting on the Region 8 proposal for that cost. But again, that's money that's specifically set aside for that purpose, for a similar purpose. This is what Ms. Sanders said she would be. It's going to be teaching the teachers things like how to use Seesaw and Google Classroom effectively within the classroom and communicating with parents virtually. Any questions? That's all I got.
Okay.
If you change your mind, I'll keep this in
I'll
my
take it.
I'm so glad.
I'll read every word.
Come visit with me.
I'm going to.
Okay, we'll move to item 6G, discussion only, safety report.
Okay, you guys, let y'all have a chance to look over some of this. It's pretty vague. We going over what we've been doing out here. We've been doing things to try to prevent criminal activity, and that's almost impossible during a pandemic, for sure. So we've taken steps. We've learned from them. We hadn't had to work night shift in quite a while, but swap back around. Got some of that going again too. And but I think we've prevented a lot. We've caught a lot of people out here. A lot of people. This campus is very busy 24/7. Very busy. So it's and you can probably tell by some of the things you read. I was also asked to for the canine, the last canine visit that we had. That was February 21st. We were scheduled to have two more. Of course, COVID hit, and there we are on that. But does that explain anything? I mean, everything to you guys on what we did? I had to be very vague because we can get in some trouble with how I put things down on this. But they send me on every alert. They issue an identification number, and they issue what they did. I don't know if you guys know, but when a canine hits, those handlers are the ones who do the searches. They do everything. And we're just simply standing there in case something does come up in the process. So, as you can see on the last one there, we've taken several items just out of that one hit. Sometimes we don't get anything at all. That's more than not. But do you guys have any questions on any of that?
On the last hit, was there action taken on the items found?
Yes.
Is there an increase? They're not stealing vehicles from us. Is it just like statewide area?
Really, it's all over the nation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
There.
And we get emails. Lamar County sends us an email every time we need to do what they call a BOLO, be on the lookout. We need to look for vehicles. They send them to us too, and those have been increased quite a bit too. So, unfortunately, we get a lot of emails.
How's all our vehicles being done now? The Suburban that got stolen, why wasn't it in the gates?
That was actually in the garage. And they jimmied the door. Yeah.
So is all our new vehicles?
They're all locked up.
Is all district-wide vehicles?
Everything's locked up. Yes, sir, everything. The Suburban that they used to keep down there, it's locked up, everything's locked up now. But and most of it's locked up then. It's just they got in there.
You can have the keys a little bit.
Yeah, it's well,
They don't have to have a key?
yeah, no, not at all. But with some of those that they're just
And
they-
Suburban's going, I don't know.
yeah. General Motors said, well, I better say that. But, you can get those going pretty quick.
Livestock barn.
Livestock Barn, those two guys were down there, they took a Snapchat video, put it on Snapchat. So, yeah, they didn't do anything, they were just
They went up to.
inside, no, yeah, I agree. So we got that up all situated too. Kids are bored right now, and that's a problem sometimes. Kids and adults are bored right now.
Yeah. I just want to compliment y'all on this meal delivery.
Oh, listen.
Just the compassion and the caring and the
Oh.
willingness to do that
It's-
was a great projection on us.
It's so, I just can't even describe it.
Yeah.
I just can't. I better not, I'll start
Yeah.
tearing up. I mean, some of that stuff we see is pretty horrendous.
Well, while we've got you here, I do have one quick question.
Sure.
Just so the board kind of understands what law enforcement does here.
Yes.
That maybe we don't know about. Do y'all issue citations?
We can, yes. Yes. Depends on what it is. Traffic is a given. You can do traffic. Back in 2013, they cut us on some things. And what you have to do now is you have to create what they call graduated sanctions, which means it has to be somebody that has done this 2 or 3 times and they're not learning from whatever punishment they're given. So we have to create graduated sanctions. Then we start issuing citations, kind of depending on what it is as well.
So, for example, like with vaping, I know that we can issue punishment on that. How?
We can. There are with vaping. They didn't know how to treat that. It was new to the state. So they went in and they were going to put it under cigarettes, tobacco, in other words. And then they came back and said, no, we're going to create an e-cigarette law. And that's what they finally did. But they put graduated sanctions on everything we have except for traffic violations. So it kind of ties our hands, but it kind of doesn't, because usually with those kids we see repeat offenders.
Well, I don't think you want to issue a citation for anything unless they are a repeat offender.
Right.
But so if you did issue a citation of any kind, who handles that from there? Does
that goes straight to Judge Hobbs, and there is a state fee on that. That they mainly, most of it goes to the state, from what I understand from him. So with vapes, they came up with some standard that's like $169, something just that they threw out there.
So nothing comes back to the district or your department?
And we don't write that many for that to happen. If you're doing $3,000 a month like the city does, then yeah, I mean, of course they're still back. But with as little as we write, we don't even write a book a month.
Okay.
So, yes, sir. Any questions you guys?
I'm the one that asked him to present, and at least probably quarterly or so, I think Ms. Stewart's going to have them give a kind of a police report of what they're doing and safety and that type of thing. So.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea, definitely.
Anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay, thank you. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys. I appreciate you.
All right, 6H, consideration and approval proposal for bids. Mr. Landis.
Okay. This year we didn't have a whole lot of people bid. Okay, we put it in comparison use, and that's as far as it goes. We'll start with Pest Control. That's inside the building. That's our kitchens once a month, and other miscellaneous stuff that goes on, which is A1 Bug Service. He's had it for several years. Nobody bid against him. he's staying with the same pricing. HVAC, nobody bid on it. If you'd like to stay with A&M for emergency purposes, we pretty much cut out all the contracting. We have 2 AC guys on staff. So that one unit we changed out at Parker, we have changed some out ourselves, so nobody bid on that. Electrical, we had 2 bidders, Max Electric and Kelly's. Max Electric used to have it. He was low bidder this year. He's done it before for the district. He's prompt and on time. I'd like to recommend to give to Max Electric. Plumbing is Excellent Plumbing. They've always been with us. They do excellent work. Nobody else bid on it. Bo and him, they take good care of it, so I'd like to stay with Excellent Plumbing. Lawn service. Before I go into this, I want to go into something back in February. The state come in on us, okay, which is TDA, and they wrote us up on a few things. One of them was for spraying the grounds, okay, and our lawn service was the one that they got us on, and he doesn't have a license to spray, okay. So we're not getting a fine out of it. I just had to talk to Mr. Freddie about it, and we had to do some documentation to get back to the state that had re-inspected us after the fact. So this year, we put it in the packet that you had to have a license to be able to hold the contract. Okay? So that cuts a bunch of people out. So we had 3 people bid on it. You know, and Daughtry was one of them, Randy Stevens, but Pro Turf was the other, and Kelly Porter was the 3rd bidder. Okay? Freddie doesn't have a license, Randy does, and so does Kelly. But, you know, I told y'all 3 years ago when y'all hired me that I would reconstruct things and try to get things, there would be some growing pains, and we'd get to a point where we were getting work orders and getting them done the next day, or if not within 3 days. And we're to that point now where we're staying on top of things, and you as the board and the superintendent have let me hire people and put them in the right places and hire the right people. Things have gotten a lot better, a lot better. And I feel like it's something we can take in-house, you know, and put 2 people that I already have on those mowers and utilize those people during the winter time to do other things like sealing tile, you know, a little bit of painting, and stuff that can be done during the winter. You know, we spend $115,000 a year on contracting our mower now. I've been in other districts where most districts don't do that. They do it in-house. You know, in the first year we're going to spend around $29,000, but after that we're not spending anything. That's just to get the equipment to get us going, which is 2 mowers and a couple of backpack blowers and some weed eaters. I feel like we can do it, and if I see that we're getting in trouble with it, I'll, recommend to Ms. Stewart that we might hire another person, which we're still going to save money. In the end, we're still going to save, after all that, we'll still save $60,000. My recommendation is to bring it in-house. I think we can do it. Before, when I first come on board, I only had 2 people out here mowing, and they kept it mowed all the time. It looked good. Okay? Well, we can't have anybody else out here with no license to spray. Whoever the mowing contractor is has to have that TDA license.
Do you have yours?
No, that's the other one.
Wasn't that the plan, though, for you to get yours?
Well, it was when we were going to do the athletic stuff.
That's
okay?
like 2 years ago, wasn't it? That we were at this point where, you know, you were wanting to get your license,
Yes,
and you
ma'am.
said you would.
Well, since that, when we got checked, the state lady recommended that the IPM coordinator not hold the license to spray, which is me. I'm the IPM coordinator for the district. It's a big responsibility that I personally don't want on me since we've been checked by the state and wrote up. I mean, it's a big responsibility. I mean, you have one person out here spraying that's not documented and they use a red label, mean, it's a big deal. And I didn't, until we were wrote up, and I finally realized that she's not going to let us buy with anything. She's coming back in May to see what we did with the mowing, to see how we handled that. So that's my recommendation, to take it back in, take the mowing in-house.
So what is the spraying gonna cost?
To get all the fence rows sprayed and the cracks in the parking lot and all that, is $1,697 a time. That's twice a year.
You just get ready to do the spraying and then we do
Yes,
the
sir.
mowing? How many times does he spray a year?
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah, he'll spray all the cracks, fence rows, places that need to be trimmed. The other thing the state brought up, we were, spraying 4 foot out from a fence, and it causes erosion. And they don't recommend that. 4 inches from both sides of that fence. Now, usually they don't get that deep into it, but she wasn't real happy with us as a district or me, because I know I've been important, I'm one who has to answer for all that.
Rick, I agree with you because I've been through a lot of that stuff over the years. You really don't want anybody that's connected to the school to have to deal with that. It needs to be somebody that's outside of it. Probably know where to go.
Yeah, and after being with the state and spending a couple hours with her in this room back here, I finally realized that that's not a good idea. I don't want to put the district at risk, and I sure don't want to put myself at risk. And this is what she told me. She said, Rick, if you get a license, you got to understand, coaches don't mean nothing by it, but they'll start spraying. And then the next thing you know, you've got people spraying, and that's legal. If I have a license, that's legal for them to spray. But if you don't document every time you spray and do something, and you miss one little deal, and she comes and checks you in February, then it could be a $10,000 fine.
What about your other grass series, the football field, baseball fields, how you gonna handle that?
We use Randy as an on-needed basis, just when we need him. We don't, it's $2,600 every time we have him out. And we don't spray for armyworms unless we see signs of them. And then we put our own seed out. We've been doing that since we bought the tractor and spreader. We've been doing our own fertilizer. We're still doing all that in-house. The coaches still do their own mowing on the inside of the fences. We'll have to take care of the outside, which that's what we're doing now. Now, if we take this in-house, I won't finish mow as much as our contractor does. There's a lot of areas that we can just shred that we don't need to finish mow, that we're finished mowing now. There's a lot behind Bailey and Higgins that we don't need to finish mow, we can shred it. That's a couple times a year.
You gonna mow the lots we have in town that we inherited some?
We were doing them when I got here, and we done them the first year I was here. I had a couple guys, Jake and Ronnie would go over and take care of it, because that was just something they were doing before I got here. But, I think we can do it. I really do. I wouldn't ask you to support me on it if I didn't think we could do it. We've turned things around. It's totally different maintenance department, and Ms. Stewart and y'all's board are stuck behind me to get me where we need to be, and I told you we can get there. We're there. And I think this will work. I just need the support of the board. I know Ms. Stewart's supporting me behind this, and I'm not going to say that if we get in a little trouble, we might have to hire somebody, but still, that's only, you're talking $24,000 a year.
Well, I know that there's been a time that our grounds have looked terrible, and I think it's when maybe we were trying to do it ourselves, it just didn't get done. And I'm going to say our grounds look better now, I think, than they ever have.
No, they look good. It's not this.
They never have. And I would also like to say that, did our football field not get in trouble at one time with it getting taken care of, or not getting sprayed and things not getting done the way they were required to get done?
On the football field?
Yeah.
No, I think they sprayed it, and they had games that night they had to cancel.
Yeah.
Well,
I know,
Dr., are
but
you
just,
referring to when we were having trouble with the other lawn service company?
Yeah, that was
Couldn't
back.
keep up.
When I first come on board, y'all would give it to another company, and Ray's Tree Service got it, and they couldn't handle it, and then right after, not 2 weeks after I started, they called Freddie to come take it back over. That's been 3 years ago.
Yeah.
and they wasn't keeping up with it. When Freddie was doing it, he was doing it with 2 people. He kept 2 people out here 5 days a week. And then Mr. Williams had passed away, and his son was helping him, and then Freddie hadn't been able to get any more help. But he comes out here now with crew, and they mow, and they spend 4 days and they're gone, and they come back and do a rotation. But it's not about service by no means, because Freddie does a great job. I mean, he goes the extra mile and does what we need, and he takes care of the grounds. It looks great. The deal with the spraying too far, I mean, that's just something that, you know, that we got to cut back on. But it's not about the service we're getting. It's about the license to spray. And I thought with me and the decision I was making, that I'd rather take it back in-house. I don't know if y'all ever had it in-house here that I know of. I know when I was in Paris all them years, y'all didn't have it in-house.
Now, you have enough help that you can take on this huge undertaking? I mean, manpower-wise, because I know there have been times that we have not been able to, you know, keep up with the building problems that we have, and work orders getting stacked up, and, you know, waiting to get things done. So you're saying that we have this extra manpower now?
Well, we don't have a whole lot of extra manpower. It's just that we've gotten things where we are taking care of them in a 3-day period. But when you have an AC guy, electrical guy, and then these guys that I put on the mower, what they're doing now is cleaning gutters, changing filters.
How many do we have? How many people do you have?
We got 7 total.
You have 7 total working for you under?
Well, that's just the maintenance guy. That's not janitors.
Okay.
And I think right now, obviously with COVID and kids not being in the building, that the work orders probably are down. I think it's inevitable he'll get to the point where he has to hire some help to put on those mowers, but that help also will help the work orders when they aren't on the mowers, keep the work orders up. He says that he can do it without the extra help right now. I think he'll eventually have to have it, but even you could hire 3 people for what we're paying now. So, and obviously they're not on they wouldn't be on a mower every day. I don't think he's going to have 3 people, but I definitely think he will eventually have to have help. I mean, I appreciate him saying he can do it, but I think that he'll definitely eventually have to have some more help.
If you do, utilize that person during the winter, because if you think about it, there's 3 months that there's no mowing. We don't do any mowing.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Yeah, 4 and then
4.5 probably.
You know, it's, to me, that's saving the district money in the long run. It's not about the service we're getting now by no means.
Can you tell me how the RFP was written for the lawn maintenance? Didn't it require a license to spray?
A license to spray, so that's why.
So, I mean, I agree with Sheila. The grounds look phenomenal. They're doing a great job, and you know, they do wonderful work, but in order to continue using them, another RFP would have to go out. You couldn't even accept them on this one if they don't meet the qualifications of to bid.
Well, it's easy for them to get someone that they pay to do the spraying for them, and they take care of it. And, you know, I mean, Freddie could go out and hire someone to do just that spraying twice a year.
Well, the state requires that person has to be employed by that company. In other words,
It's
Freddie,
his company.
you know, Freddie wanted to send one of his guys to get a license, and they have a license, and yeah, they can spray.
Well, he would hire someone that would be a part of his company to do the spraying. And I'm not saying that, but I know that 2 or 3 years ago, whenever, you know, the plan was that, you know, you would be able to spray, you were going to go to school, you were going to get the training, and you were going to be able to do this, and it wasn't going to be an issue. And
You're exactly right. And
we did not follow through with that.
No, I did not.
And now we're here.
Well, but still, if I have my license, Freddie, he still can't spray.
But if you had your license, the state
Yeah,
does not
they can spray.
recommend
You'd
that
be
you have your
spraying.
license. So if you already had it, what would she say if she came in? Would they
Well, you get
request that
trained to do it.
I mean, you already had it when she came in.
She just said, she recommended that I not have my license since I was the IPA coordinator for the district. because it was a big liability.
What if you already had it before she came in?
And you could either renew it or let it go, or the district would have to put a policy in place that would control what's going on with the spraying and who can actually spray and not spray. Because with that license, Joe will tell you, I can be employed by the district, and anybody that's employed by the district can go spray, but me on the premises, but a contractor can't.
Yeah, where you get in trouble with that license thing is if someone else sprayed under his license, which is perfectly legal to do, and there was ever a slip of the documentation, that's where you would get your fine. You know, as long as you documented it all, like you said, but when you got a bunch of people operating under one license, which is what can happen,
Yeah.
that's where I've had issues before.
Yeah.
But Ricky, when you came to us and said you could get your license, you didn't know about all of that, where you could be held liable, correct?
Well, I knew some of it, but I didn't know see, I didn't know that Freddie didn't have a license, okay?
Right, I understand.
I was told, when I first come to work here, and Freddie took it back over, that he was working underneath Randy Stevens' license, that's not true. I checked. He's not working underneath Randy's license. Okay? When she come in.
Anyhow, they don't work for him.
No. He has to be an employee of that company. Just
He
like
hired
me.
him to do it, but he was an employee of that company.
That's contracted, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be.
There's a big difference in the employee and subcontractor.
So, is this a yearly inspection that the state comes in, or
Well,
is this just a?
We hadn't been checked since I've been here.
Right.
And she come in. She called me and told me, she said, I'll see you in a week. And she set a date and she come in. And
So in 3 years, we haven't had one, and then all of a sudden we have one, so.
well, and Joe will tell you, once they get a red flag on you, they're going to stay on you. They'll keep coming.
We
She's
had not
coming
been
back at
inspected
night.
before.
So they got an inside tip from somebody?
Sometimes they randomly just show up, and the only thing I'll say about it is this: I have been involved in some big fines,
I'd
and
like
you
to
were very
discuss this
lucky
in
that you didn't get
executive
fines. Okay?
Oh, yeah,
Because I have been on the other end of that, where
Not
they just
that-
don't even try to talk to you, they just write you a big ticket. They like to do that.
I've dealt with this particular person several times at other districts, and I think the only reason she didn't is because I told her the situation at hand, and that we were working on things to try to change things. Otherwise, we'd be paying a $10,000 fine.
So now that she's on to us, or whatever, the monkey's on our back, she's gonna be here, she's gonna be watching us with a fine.
It wouldn't have mattered at that time if I'd had my license or not. We'd still got in trouble because
Right.
Freddie didn't have his. He's a contractor, he's not an employee of the district.
So-
That's why, because I did argue with her a little bit, but then, okay, you don't need, you kind of just need to back off a little bit. And she's pretty stern. I know that Joel's dealt with her too, but, when she comes back in May, the first thing she's gonna ask is, who's the mowing contractor, do they have a license? And we have to provide that information to her. And if we're letting somebody mow the grass and they do their own spraying, then we're liable because I'm the IPM coordinator for the district and I let them come on the property and spray. And I don't personally want to do that. And like I say, it has nothing to do with Freddie. Love Freddie to death, he does a great job. And, contract's up in July 1, we'll either be mowing ourselves or do whatever we decide to do. But, she's not going to let up. It's obvious when she goes around taking pictures that we sprayed, how much we sprayed and what's going on. And I'm not willing to put me on the line. Sorry.
Well,
I love my job, I like this district, but I'm not going to put myself on the line for something like that.
So even in the first year, and assuming you had to buy 2 mowers a year, which that won't be the case, but you're still at $85,000 savings in the first year. If you had to hire an employee, it's obviously less than the 85, but any way you look at it, it's cheaper to bring it in-house. My only concern is that it continues to look good, so if you need the extra help, then talk to Ms. Stewart and get it, because I think the expectation of everybody, administration and the board, is that we keep the grounds looking good.
That's what got us in trouble when we did away from our current contractor and went with that other one. You didn't have the manpower. I mean, and that's what I'm worried about with us, you know, the manpower. I know when they're slow, they can go mow. And you said, you know, 5.5, 6 months out of the year, they're mowing. But, I mean, we got trees around here, leaves pile up front door. I mean, blow the parking lots off during the winter months too. I mean, keep it looking good year round. And that's where I thought we might have to get you some more help eventually. I mean, you tried it too.
Well, you know, like I say, I recommend that we take it in-house and we try it this way. I'm not saying that things are going to be perfect.
I understand, sir.
But I will say this, we're going to give it a hard try. If I think we need another person, I'll go to Ms. Stewart. Even at that, the following year, we're still going to save, you know, close to $90,000. That's a lot of money. And to me, with the budget cuts and stuff like that, I mean, I got cut last year, and everybody got cut. And I had to adjust for that. And then I lost $50,000 right off the bat with the flood we had at Higgins. Of course, that was the insurance thing, and we didn't get our money. And Ms. Stewart's working really hard on that. But, I mean, we got janitor positions that I hadn't filled, but we're making it work. Because Ms. Stewart's let me rearrange some things and move people around, and it's working like it is now. And we can make this work. If we need an extra person, I'll go to her. I'm not going to just start and let it go to the ground and look ugly and then decide to go to her 2 months later. I mean, I don't want it looking, I'm prideful of this place. You know, it's, you know, I mean.
Pretty sure we'll get complaints if it does go down.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we got places now, I mean, I got complaints today about the baseball field, outside the baseball field not being mowed. So I stopped over and talked to one of the guys, and, you know, and he said it was too wet. But I went and looked at it and didn't think it was too wet myself. But anyway, that's beside the point. You're going to have, it's going to be too wet to mow, and it happens. When you get a lot of rain like we have, you can't get on it. You just rut it up and make it look bad.
Well, like today, there was people working on the practice field with them. They had tractors, they had like 5 or 6 young guys out there.
Well, that was Randy Jones, and he had our tractor, and he had some kids out there, and they were working on the band field, and then what they were doing was filling in, well, they spray the lines every year. And so that wasn't us at all.
I mean, would he just grab him a sprayer and go spray and get us in trouble? Or?
Well,
I mean, I don't know if that's what they. I don't know what they're doing out there.
No, they wasn't spraying. They were filling in the lines. They said they're uneven. After you spray those lines for so many years, what they do is they have a little dent.
Right.
And we go back and sand it in, and that's what he was doing. He's, you know, and him and Jason and a couple of kids were out there. They take care of that, painting that podium they stand on. But no, that was our tractor.
Okay. So according to this agenda item, it says consideration and approval proposals. So we've got this whole list of proposals. What's the recommendation of administration?
My recommendation is to accept the proposals like Mr. Landis presented.
I need to abstain from the vote.
Recommendation.
Now, this is for the equipment. You want 2 lawnmowers?
No,
this is for just.
That's the next.
Excuse me?
That's the next agenda item. The equipment's the next agenda item. We're on the list of RFPs that he read out of who the bids were.
Oh, for all of them, but not the lawn maintenance?
Well, the lawn maintenance is part of his recommendation not to award a bid.
Not to award this, but to go in-house.
Well,
Right.
so there's a motion on the table and a second made by Christie and seconded by Alicia. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0 with Bo Exum abstaining. Okay, we'll move to item 6I, purchase of lawn equipment. Consideration and approval.
I have a bid from Paris Farmer Ranch, which are Kubotas. They're on tips and buy board, which we get income tips. For 2 mowers, we're 28, 238, 44. That's diesel motors. You don't want to buy a gasoline motor and mow out here every day. It won't last. And it also has a little hood on top, so the sun's not directly down on top of the hood when it mows. I won't be able to do that till July 1 with our new budget.
So administration recommendation is to purchase this equipment.
Yes.
That's for the 2 mowers.
That's for the 2 mowers, and of course we'll need a backpack blower and 2 weed eaters. We already have 1 backpack blower that we bought last year that we do leave with. And that's,
I think those good diesel mowers like that, they'll last 5 years for easy.
oh yeah, that'll last. I bought some 9 years ago at Paris and they're still running. I mean, as long as you keep the maintenance up on them. But a gasoline motor out here mowing every day is not going to work.
Okay, we're going to need a motion to approve the purchase made by Bo. Is there a second by Joel? Is there any further discussion on this item?
Is there a reason why you look at Echo over other brands?
Well, Echo, the reason we do that is because, once again, Home Depot Pro is, we get that discount through tips. And the Echo just seemed to me, they stand up longer. I mean, my personal yeah, I've got a guy on staff that can rebuild it.
Well, I know.
With a mate, our air conditioning guy, he used to own land and see a smaller motor. That's what his trade used to be. He's good at it.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. All right, item 6J, consideration and approval, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution regarding delegation of authority during COVID-19. Mrs. Stewart?
Okay, if you would, please turn to page 27 in your board book. This resolution, as you can tell, it addresses 8 different areas. The main areas that I wanted us to focus on tonight was the authority to create an exception to the board policy DH local, and that's permitting electronic communication with students as necessary. And right now, during the COVID-19 closure, our employees are currently communicating with distance learning with our students, so we need to address that area. Some of them are using GroupMe, some of them are using Zoom, some of them are using texting, so we need to address the exception to that local policy during this time that we are closed. Also, this particular resolution gives authority in regards to waivers. There are multiple waivers that TEA has out right now that we are allowed to file for. We've already brought before the board the one that addressed the T-test appraisal system. We did that at a previous meeting, but since that meeting we have other waivers that we need to look at. Some of them are for CPR, IMA, there's an ASVAB, there's one for the attendance. There's just several of them that are out there, and so instead of having to ask the board for permission at each board meeting to give permission for us to apply for a waiver, we put all of this in a resolution so that anytime those waivers come up and that we can apply for them and be approved for them, we would like to have that permission to do so. Also, number 7, if you'll look at that, Mr. Holmes, when Ms. Darrell was visiting with you a while ago regarding FEMA, we will be eligible for some reimbursement, so this waiver also gives us permission to fill out that paperwork with FEMA in order to get that money reimbursed. And that can cover anything from any type of COVID training, to paper for the instructional packets, to gloves that we've purchased for our employees, and masks. There's a whole list of things that we can qualify for, so we are asking for permission to fill that paperwork out as well. And then also on the back page, the authority to employ teachers for the month of June and July. So does anyone have any questions regarding this particular resolution?
Now, what do you mean by the authority to hire, like without?
Like whenever our principals are interviewing with their interview committees, they would be able to contact me, and then we would be able to hire that particular teacher instead of waiting on a board meeting and then us losing that candidate to another school district, just for the summer months.
Is this common throughout the state right
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Could I ask, without it being in the resolution, could we be assured if you use this resolution to act that you'd notify the entire board?
Yes, that's part of it. Once, like when it comes to the waivers, and I've gone over this with our lawyer, we can come, once the waivers have been completed, submitted, and we've been approved, that's something I would like to bring up like a following board meeting so that you're aware that that actually took place and that we have been approved.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Make a motion.
Okay, we got a motion made by Red,
I would second.
seconded by Sheila. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the resolution, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we'll move on to item 6K, consideration and approval attorney contract for the 2021 school year.
Okay, if you'll turn to page 35, this is the schedule of fees and expenses for Powell, Youngblood, and Taylor. Last year, when we were looking at lawyers, I had gathered information and everybody's price range was very compatible. But my recommendation is that we stick with Powell, Youngblood, and Taylor and continue to use them for next school year.
Made by Red. Is there a second by Bo? Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, item 7, Superintendent's Report.
Okay, our summer hours are going to start on May 26th on all of our campuses. Currently, our secretaries are working from 8 to 10 Monday through Thursday, but summer hours will come into place on May 26th from 8 to 12:30 Monday through Thursday. Our graduation ceremony is going to take place on June 13th at 10 a.m. at R.L. Maddox Stadium. I did want to let you know that we are going to do a hybrid ceremony. We have 2 students that are going to be leaving for the military before June 1st. So we're going to do a hybrid ceremony on Tuesday, May 26th at 6 p.m. for those 2 students. We're going to follow the TA guidance, of course, on the standard health protocols for that type of ceremony. Those protocols are a little different from the protocols that we will be following for the June 13th ceremony. Some of the things that we have to do for that one is set up hand sanitation stations around the entrances so that when people come in that they have those available, and that's something that Mr. Landis is currently working on. Also, some of the things that the state have recommended is to put a cap on the total number of participants. The students and parents must comply with the guidance for the student non-instructional visits. We have to screen people as they come into this ceremony, so we're going to be getting with our nursing staff to get the nurses up here to help with that. We've been asked that everyone stays 6 feet apart. This includes if a particular family comes in to sit together, they have to be in groups of 5 or fewer, and they have to be 6 foot away from the next family beside them. So there's a lot of preparation that's going on to prepare for that June 13th ceremony. But I wanted to let you guys know that it will be at 10 a.m. And Mr. Scarborough is taking care of ordering the regalia for you guys for that ceremony. The prom is going to be on July 18th. That is if we are able to have prom. Of course, if the restrictions aren't listed with the CDC guidelines, then we may not be able to have it. But we're holding out some hope that we might possibly be able to have it. And if we are able to have it, then it would be at First United Methodist Church from 8 to 10:30 on July 18th. Item C is the cybersecurity training. You should have received an email regarding this training. I apologize, it is a little lengthy. The state has said that all school board members have to have this training as well as our employees, and so Ms. Parson has asked that that be finished by May 28th. If you have any questions or you need help with that, she's on standby and can help you log in.
Can I ask a question about that? Does any of that go, will any of that go for our task being?
We are hoping that it will.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions on any of those items?
Are we supposed to be getting the little phishing emails where we try to tell whether they're real or scam? I mean, are we, because I couldn't even get contact, with my training, and Glenda had to send me her particular,
I haven't heard of anyone
website.
else having that problem.
But
I haven't seen any what she's talking about.
she said I was the only one that couldn't get that wouldn't come through to my email. So, but anyway, I did get it through hers. But if y'all are getting something else in that regard, then I may not be getting it.
Did anyone else have a problem getting theirs?
She said I was the only one.
I haven't even checked mine.
So I didn't know that y'all were getting other things. I mean, I did the training, but if there's something else, I'm not getting it.
Is that everything? Any questions before we move on? Okay, at this time, at 7:37 p.m., we'll move to item 8, executive session. The board will conduct a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551, subchapters D and E, Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters, and employment of professional personnel, including teachers, administrators, and other professionals, and the Texas Government Code Section 551.082 and 551.0821 discuss student discipline matters.